Hi guys, and welcome to Escape with Watch Views. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the Addiesdive AD2030 Sand Dune dial. I received this watch for free, but no matter how I get a watch, it's going to get reviewed fairly and honestly on this channel. And if by the end of this review you do want to pick one of these up, I'll be leaving an affiliate link down in the video description. If you use that link, you don't pay any extra. I just get a little bit of commission every time you do use that link. It helps keep the channel running and keep it going, so I really do appreciate the continued support, guys. The retail price for this watch is $75 US. That's before any taxes, sales, or coupons. I say retail is $75 just because that's what they listed at, but I've pretty much always seen this watch right around $50 to $55 US, and currently I'm seeing it at the time of this recording for $42. That's what I could get it down to. The watch comes in 3 different colorways that you can see here. I think they all look pretty good, but I think the blue one looks a little bit off to me. I've seen the real, better pictures of it. I think it doesn't look as good as the other two colors. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel. It has a K1 mineral crystal with AR coating, a screw-down crown, screw-down case back, 100 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Seiko VH31 sweeping quartz movement. So yeah, this is Addiesdive's best-selling watch, at least from the store that I got it from, selling over 1,500 units plus. The watch is also hyped up like crazy last year, so does it deserve all the hype? Let's dig in, let's find out. But before we do a quick wrist check today, wearing the Watchdive's WD16500. Go check out the review for it. All right, let's talk about the dimensions. A case diameter of 36.9 millimeters, case thickness of 11.2 millimeters. You got 19 millimeter lug width, a lug to lug of 45.7 millimeters. And sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist with 3 links removed. It weighs 105 grams. So I think the case on this is perfect. If you like this kind of 37 millimeter case, you're going to really like this one. A little bit of a flat case, which is typical for this kind of oyster style case here. 19 millimeter lug width is kind of the big drawback for me. I wish they would have gone 18 or 20. That's kind of that odd number. I think it looks good. I think it looks proportional in the case and everything, but just finding straps for it is a little bit difficult. Thankfully for this dial, not a huge deal. I think I'll be wearing it mostly on this bracelet here. But yeah, I do like the way that it wears. I think it wears pretty good, so I'm going to go outside right now, throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, it wears great. I mean, it's a 36 millimeter size, so a little small for my wrist there, but you can see it is a little bit of a flat case, but not too bad. Is doing pretty darn good. You got lots of light play off of the dial indices and the hands there. So yeah, overall it's done pretty nice. Popping out in some more direct sunlight, you can see here, still plenty legible. The AR coating on the crystal is actually pretty impressive, so I'm quite happy with that. But yeah, it does. It just looks really good. You can see the texture on the dial there really nicely too. Yeah, it's kind of got a metallic sheen to it, so it does change depending on how the light hits it and how it's reflecting off of it. So it does look pretty good. I'm going to go throw it on some straps and we'll get back to this review. And here we are on a kind of a medium brown leather strap. I got to apologize, my 19 millimeter strap game is very limited. So this is kind of what we have to deal with. I don't think that looks too bad though. What do you guys think? And here we are on a very textured black strap with kind of tan or white stitching. This is off of one of my old Seastern models there. So yeah, no link for this one, but just giving you an idea of what a black strap will look like on it. And lastly, here we are on a 20 millimeter pass-through. This is a sweatpants strap from CNS Watch Bands. There you can see one layer underneath the watch, and it's still sitting really nice on the wrist. Thickness is not an issue with this thing. Obviously the tan dial kind of limits your strap options. I think some of the other colors will be a little bit more strap monstrous. But for this one, you're kind of limited. I think I'll be sticking with the bracelet, but yeah, should give you some ideas. Alright, let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. So the case that they chose for this one, it's a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. You can see on the tops of the lugs here, it is an angular brushing, and it's done pretty nice. It's a pretty satinized brushing for this kind of vintage style brushing. Normally, it's pretty coarse, but this one is actually done pretty nice. You can see you got high polish on the sides. You have a high polish bezel as well. All the polishing seems to be done very nicely. I've got no real complaints with it, especially at this price point. Flipping over to the crown side here, you do have a signed screw down crown there with the Addiesdive logo. Again, nice polishing on the case sides as well. Nice transitions between the brushed and the polished surfaces. Really, there's not too much to complain about here. There are a little bit of sharp corners on the insides of the lugs here. The outsides are done pretty nice. The bottom edge is done pretty nice as well. So there's not too much that I can complain about when it comes to the case finishing. So flipping it over to the screw down case back here, simple notches to get a tool in there, which is nice to see. The signed logo on the back there just doesn't fit for this watch. I know Addiesdive is a brand that does all sorts of watches, but I think they really need to switch it up, do something different when it comes to a watch like this. It's not a dive watch. It does have a spec sheet printed around the outside. This is it's a little bit scratchy. I'm not going to say it's sharp. It wasn't really uncomfortable on the wrist or anything like that, but it doesn't really feel premium. So just something to note. Circular brushing on the bottom of the case. Yeah, everything is done pretty nicely though, except it's just a little bit scratchy, and I don't think the design goes for this watch at all. So covering that really beautiful dial is a really beautiful piece of crystal. It is a K1 mineral crystal. So K1 is, I think, a little bit harder than normal mineral crystal. It's like a 7, I believe, on the Mohs scale. Normal crystals like a 5 or a 6, and then sapphire is like a 9. So it should be a little bit more scratch resistant, but the crystal itself is really nice. It is a box dome style, as you can see there. So nice and clear on the inside, the flat surface there, but plenty of distortion on the edges there. It does have a pretty heavy anti-reflective treatment. It is purple or blue, as you can see on the edges there. It doesn't distract me too much on this dial, but yeah, it is definitely there and definitely noticeable. Some people like it, some people don't. It doesn't really bother me too much, but yeah, I would prefer clear AR. But yeah, the fact that they're using AR coating at all in this price range, and then the fact that the mineral crystal is less reflective than a sapphire crystal, the crystal on this watch is really, really good. All right, getting in real close to talk about the dial. The dial on this thing is kind of the star of the show, right? Has that kind of wave texture, reminds me of the sand dunes. It looks, for the most part, it looks really nicely done. It doesn't look cheap, especially in this color. I've seen the blue. The blue, in my opinion, does look a little bit cheap, but this tan color and the white color, I think, look fine. You have applied indices at all the hour markers. They're kind of this double-faceted applied index, so they do catch the light nicely and play with the light nicely. They look pretty good, in my opinion. Obviously, you can only get such high quality on a $50 piece, but I think they're right at the limit. They look really good for the price. Just a very simple handset. You can see they're double faceted as well, so they also play with the light nicely. They're a good size too. They reach right out to the minute track. The second hand, it reaches right out past the minute track there, so really nicely done on that. The logo and the text on the dial, it just doesn't work for this watch. Again, Addiesdive, it's a diving style logo. They kind of painted themselves in a corner with that logo, but yeah, I don't like the logo on this watch. I wish they would change that up. They have started doing a cursive or a script font logo on some of their watches in this style, but this one hasn't quite got there yet. So maybe in the future they will do that. And then we have this Deep Sea Hunter, which is just ridiculous for this watch. Yeah, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't look good. Just drop it off the dial there, please. And then you have your depth rating there. So the printing on it is all done pretty nice. I don't see too much that I can complain about, even getting up really close. I think it all looks pretty darn good. And like I said, in general, the kind of wave pattern of that dial does look good. There's one spot which I've noticed in every single one, and it's right above this 3 o'clock index. I got the watch. It's the first thing I saw. There's kind of a little pointer here. There's kind of a little dent right here in it, as you can see there, and I cannot unsee that. It looks like it wasn't supposed to be there. I thought I got a bad dial, but looking at all the other pictures, everyone else has the same thing. So it's just something that really bothers me more than it should. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out to you guys so it would bother you just as much as it bothers me. There's no lume on this watch at all, so we don't have to worry about the lume either. But yeah, the dial on this thing is pretty awesome. I gotta say, it looks excellent. The crystal helps with that as well. Yeah, it's pretty impressive, especially, I mean, when you consider the price of this thing, $50 or $45. Yeah, it's really nice. All right, so let's talk about the movement in this thing. So the movement is the Seiko VH31 sweeping quartz. So you have a quartz movement with 4 ticks of the second hand every second. So you kind of get that best of both worlds. You get that sweeping second hand. It's not as smooth as an NH35 or anything, but it definitely is alleviates my big issue of 1 tick per second, and then those things not lining up with the second ticks. It kind of annoys me a little bit. So you don't have any issues with that. They're plus or minus 20 seconds per month is a stated accuracy, but they're going to be more accurate than that. 2 or 3 year battery life. I can't remember. 2 year battery life, I believe. Yeah, they're great. I've got no issues with them. They all pretty much act the same. They're a no date movement, so it's just 3 hands, so you don't have a ghost date position or anything. The screw in and screw out action of the crown here is perfectly fine. This first position obviously does nothing. Second position hacks the movement. This is where you set your time. Again, everything functions as it should in that screw in and screw out action, nice and smooth. So yeah, the VH31 is one of my favorite movements in cheaper, more affordable watches, and yeah, I really do like it. Okay, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. So bracelet, like I mentioned, is 19 millimeters, and it tapers down to 16 millimeters at the clasp. You got brushing on the top, polishing on the side. You got simple push pins for sizing. I had no issues sizing this thing. I removed 3 links for my 7.5 inch wrist, so it's plenty long. You have their solid links, they are solid end links, they're female pivot end links, so they drop straight down. It's going to fit all sorts of wrist sizes, no problem at all. The spring bars, they seem to be high quality as well. The end links, they fit the case curvature just perfectly. I do wish they would have done a vertical brushing on the top of the lugs here. It would have matched the case or the bracelet a little bit nicer. But that's kind of the style. It's a vintage style, and that's what they did back then, so that's what they're doing now. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it doesn't bother me too much, I guess. The bracelet itself, it's pretty sloppy. It's about what I expected from an Addiesdive in this price point. It's the tolerances aren't great. You can see there's lots of slop in these links here. There's a little bit of slop here at the first link as well, so it does feel a little light and a little rattly. Articulation wise, it's fine. I don't have any links that are holding up on each other or anything like that. The bottom edge of this, it's a little bit sharp. For some reason, this bracelet, I have it on this one and I have it on this watch here as well. They both are the same thing. I feel like they're a little bit sharp, and every time I wear them, I get the bracelet marks on my wrist. So I'm not really sure why, because it doesn't feel overly sharp. It's just something I noticed. Working our way to the Addiesdive clasp here. Nice big signed Addiesdive logo there. Again, doesn't flow with the watch, but they're just using parts that they have laying around. Fully milled on the inside though. Nice tight tolerances. These hinges are. It opens and closes fine. You got 5 levels of micro adjust, so you're going to get a great fitment on this bracelet. The clasp itself, it's nice and rounded, low profile. I think it works perfectly for this case. So in general, the bracelet is not the best. It's definitely usable. You can see I've got a link here that wouldn't quite go in with my tool. I had to pound that in a little harder. But yeah, the bracelet itself is really not that bad. For $50, I've seen worse bracelets for sure. This one is definitely usable, but it's not the most comfortable one, and it does feel a little bit light and jangly. So yeah, but for $50, it's hard to complain. So there you go, guys. That is the Addiesdive AD2030, the Sand Dune dial. It's one of their best sellers, and I can definitely see why. It's got a really nice crystal on it. The dial is spectacular for the price. Yeah, the bracelet is even usable and serviceable. The case, I think, is really what deserves a lot of the hype. The case on this watch is excellent. I liked it in my Explorer that I just showed you guys. I like it here as well. It's nice and thin and nicely finished as well. So yeah, you're getting a lot of watch for your $45 to $50. So yeah, if you guys like this style of watch, I say go for it. It looks excellent. And yeah, there's not a whole lot to complain about, especially when you take price into consideration. So yeah, I think that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.